Hello, and welcome to the Cryptocurrency News channel. If you want to join me on my daily live stream and check out all your cryptocurrency news for the day, those links will be in the description in the comments. Check my other channels out. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about these private versions of Ethereum, Stellar, or Cardano. And are they good or bad for the cryptocurrency ecosystem? And are they good or bad for us investors? I wanted to do this video outside, but it's really crappy outside today. So we'll probably do the next day or two videos indoors. And then we will do some adventure videos again. All right. So actually, let's look at three blockchains that have private versions that big enterprises are using. We have Ethereum and Quorium. We have Stellar, and then that protocol that Ukraine's actually using. And we have Cardano and all those MOUs in Africa. And City of Austin, all that stuff. Now, you might be like, oh man, these are really great big companies, big banks, or slash governmental institutions that are going to use our cryptocurrency because they're going to use Ethereum, XLM, and Cardano. No. That's not how it works. They said they are using private versions of your blockchain, which means they're not really on the same blockchain. Their private version might be built off your blockchain's architecture and structure, but they are not the same blockchain. So they're not going to be, to my knowledge at least, they're not going to be using your gas or anything else. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the private versions of like Quorium, they don't use Ethereum gas, just like the private version that Ukraine's going to be using of XLM or Stellar protocol is not going to be using XLM in any sort of way. Now, you might think, well, they're using a similar blockchain or one that's built off of it, so it could lead to integration in the future. That could actually be true, but let's actually look at the other side. This also gives these big governmental institutions or banks another option. If they don't feel like actually using public blockchain, they can always go to these companies and build their own private projects, which would actually make it so that anyone who doesn't actually want to work with the token or their public blockchain can just opt for a private version, which gives them another choice rather than to adopt these coins that we want them to adopt. So that's the other big thing. And the thing is, there's nothing that says like they can't link these private versions together, and they don't actually have to use their public blockchains. They can use their own private channels. So the thing is, like, it does prevent two sides of a conundrum. Like, yes, Quorium and Ethereum probably can interoperate better than like Quorium and another blockchain or Quorium and maybe another even database system. Same thing with Ukraine's CBDC and Stellar and Cardano and all those African MOUs they've actually signed. But the issue is that the issue here is that they might never interoperate. You know, we have a lot of like we have like a lot of promises, a lot of catchwords, like, oh, we may integrate them someday. Maybe one day they'll work together with a public blockchain. But we all know what happens with those promises. Like after 5 years, it's going to be like, yeah, nothing actually happened, and they're just going to stick with a private blockchain. And now all the private blockchains are going to kind of interoperate together, and we're not really going to use the public asset. Because that's a very real possibility. These big banks and governmental institutions may not want to use your public asset, and indeed, more of them might actually just use the private blockchain. So if you're starting off by these big governmental institutions and banks going to these companies saying, hey, we don't really want to mess with this public asset, we don't want anything to do with this, we don't want a token or gas or anything, can you make us a separate blockchain that's like your other blockchain, but without the public features? And if more companies do that, I mean, the technology is definitely going to flourish and develop, but we as investors are going to be kind of screwed because, you know, like they're using the same technology, well, similar technology, but they're not using the coins, which means we're not getting any appreciation on our assets. So I'm not actually like too happy about these big companies adopting a private version of these coins that we're investing in because we're not, remember, we have coins. We're not actually invested in the company. We're invested in these coins. And if these big companies and governmental institutions don't use the coins, then we kind of get left out in the cold. Yes, like IBM can grow really large. I don't really know what the Stellar Foundation is. I don't know. I don't think you can buy shares in them. But whatever company builds off of that can grow really large. IOHK can actually grow really large. But I mean, I know Cardano has other uses. It's not its only use, and they have a lot of public blockchain uses. But if most of the use actually comes in the form of these like private chains that are actually based on public blockchains, realistically, as token holders, we're really not going to benefit. And that's really something I'm kind of concerned about. Yes, I'm excited for the fact that they can open up interoperability possibilities in the future, but I'm also very concerned that a lot of these partnerships, big companies, are going to use the private version of these blockchains and kind of leave the investors out in the cold. So let me know what you think about this issue. I'm not too highly optimistic about these developments, but maybe you have another view. So that is the report for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe and hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.